Thank you so much for joining us on a brand new episode of 420 Grams. A day after, it was India beating Pakistan 4-0 in their SAFF Cup opener. But more than the result, more than the scoreline, there was a certain bite to the game. Yes, Mr. Steamach played his part in that. Yes, of course, then, the whole hatapai started and pata nahi kya hua, unke coach aaye, hamare coach aaye, WWE ban gaya thoda sa beech mein. But it was so good to see that. It was so nice to see that intensity, that bite in the game. But more than that, it was also the Sunil Chhetri show. Bhai is on another level, and 90 goals for India now. 90 goals for India, for a team that always keeps on saying हमारे पास striker कहाँ है, हमारे पास goal scorer नहीं है. उस मामले में हमारे भाई ने 90 गोल मार दिए यहाँ पे. And to talk about that and a lot more, because also as soon as Mr. Steamach was sent off, Gauramangi Singh and Floyd Pinto's contemporary, and someone we love so much, Mahesh Gowli, took to field. And it was so good to see Mahesh Gowli take charge of the Indian team. We're also joined by Ali Hassan of footballpakistan.com to give us the perspective of Pakistan football, to give us the perspective of the reaction post that game, to tell us in reality what we saw in those 90 minutes. Is that a clear reflection of this Pakistan team? I know India Pakistan है भाई, तो controversy कैसे नहीं हो सकती. वहाँ पे टीम मतलब 11:30 बजे पहुँच रही है सुबह बैंगलोर एयरपोर्ट से वापस अपने होटल पहुँचने में उनको 4 घंटे और लगे होंगे. वहाँ पे उन्होंने जूस वूस पिया होगा और फिर आगे होंगे गेम खेलने के लिए. तो talk about so much. We've got a full house today on 420 Grams, and you never know, you might just get a surprise from Manipur in the form of Siddhant Annie. If he joins us, we'll quickly get him on the show. Ali, Gauramangi and Floyd, guys, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Ali bhai, thank you so much for taking out time and joining us. Just give us reactions post that result. Not the most favorable in Pakistan, but is that a clear reflection of this Pakistan team, or is there a lot more to it?
I think thank you so very much for having me on your show. हमेशा बड़ी खुशी होती है जब भी मैं साउथ एशियन फुटबॉल के बारे में जहां भी मैं तबसरा कर सकता हूं, whether it's in Pakistan or from across the border in India. It's always a pleasure to talk about Pakistani football and its myriad number of problems, to be fair. I think we cannot discount the fact that because Pakistan ki team literally reached Bengaluru hours before kickoff because of certain backdrops of delayed submission of the non-objection certificate from the government of Pakistan, to the last minute, hatapai of just getting the Indian visas to be issued to the entire team, to last minute changes in flights, to issues at immigration, etc. People have talked about it. For example, ESPN India did a feature about how long it took the Pakistan team to actually get to Bengaluru. I think one of the Indian journalists on ESPN India actually interviewed Hasnan Haider, who is the team administrative manager, so to speak. But at the same time, there were concerns that maybe, this was a bit unfair. I mean, behind the scenes, before it was going on, some people in Pakistan were saying that, this should have not have happened. I mean, had the government issued the visas a bit early, Indian government of India had issued the visas a bit early, Pakistan would have at least come at least a day earlier, and at least would have gotten to acclimatize, to train, to get used to the pitch at the Srikantivar Stadium in Bengaluru. But at the same time, the pressure of playing an India-Pakistan match is something only the players can explain what's going on. Because of the high-octane intensity of our country's political relations, because of our sporting history, for example, especially in cricket, and the fact that, Indian football has been in a steady ascendancy for the last decade or so, especially thanks to the people like Sunil Chhetri, probably South Asia's greatest ever goal scorer by far. I guess a bit of fatigue, a bit of jet lag, a bit of anxiety, and a bit the fact that this is a very young and inexperienced team playing international football together after a significant number of times. I mean, let me just give you a basic statistic. In the last 8 years, I did a basic count. In the last 8 years, since 2015, mid-2015, 2015 से लेकर अब तक 2023 अब आ गया है. The Indian national senior team, men's की senior team, they have played around 70 plus matches. 70-75 match अब तक खेले, including yesterday. Guess how many matches Pakistan has played in those 8 years?
How many?
13. Because the last 8 years also coincide with the fact that the Pakistan Football Federation has been going through tremendous political strife and crises, because of disputed elections, because of factional infighting in the PFF, because of FIFA bans. The recent FIFA ban, which lasted for 15 months, only ended in June of 2022, June of last year. So you literally had an entire generation of players not being able to play any kind of competitive international football, even at the youth levels, beyond maybe the AFC under-19s and the SAFF under-16s in 2018. So this was literally a new look side. So India, because of its stable federation, because they had been preparing very well for the last couple of years, especially winning the Tri-Nation Series in March and then the Intercontinental Cup in Bhubaneswar in Odisha, they had a team built around Sunil Chhetri and all other players, and Anirudh Thapa and Anwar Ali and all the players which I forget, they slipped my mind for my apologies for that. So they had a stable unit going forward. They were always going to be a strong favorite to beat Pakistan. My hope was that if we had played our cards right, if our current head coach Shazad Anwar, had put our strongest lineup in front. I mean, the 10 playing 11.
That was not your strongest lineup?
Let me just get to that point. So the 10 playing 11 on the outfielders, they were basically our strongest lineup right now. And most of them have not played more than a handful of matches in the past couple of months because of disruptions of the past previous years. The biggest gamble he took was that he decided to use Saqib Hanif, which is our number 2, as the starting goalkeeper against India. So, okay, so our main number 1 is Yusuf Butt. He plays his league football in the lower divisions of Denmark. He's been a regular part of the Pakistan team for the last 10, 12 years, although he hasn't been able to play that much because of disruptions of the field, which is not anyone's fault in the team, to be fair. But he's also very good on the ball too. If you're playing, let's say, a 3 at
अब ये मत सोचना कि ये हमारी कॉन्स्पिरेसी थी कि हम अली उनका इंटरनेट काट दिया है, ये न्यूज़ चैनल नहीं है।
उसकी टेंशन आप मत लें। मैं अभी तरफ से चाह रहा था कि मैं चाहूं कि तमाम आपके जो सामीन हैं, तमाम जो नाजरीन हैं, मैं उनको एक बैकग्राउंड दूं as to what kinds of issues Pakistan had been facing through no fault of their own. And I'm not even saying that it was, I mean, every single person in the Pakistan Football Federation, whom I personally know, every single person who's a serious football fan in Pakistan, all of them have said that the All India Football Federation are top-class professionals, top-notch individuals. From the president, from the president Kalyan Chaubey to the General Secretary Dr. Shaji Prabhakaran, who we have known personally for many number of years, even before he was General Secretary. So they were very helpful even when the visa issue was not really resolved for Pakistan. They, as soon as the Indian High Commission had initially in Mauritius had initially said, "Oh, you should be able to get your visas by Friday, if not Saturday, and you can travel to India by Sunday." They went there. The officials went there on Friday or a Saturday, but the Indian High Commission said, I'm sorry, the Indian Home Ministry has not issued your visas yet. They're either requiring more time to process, or they are saying that this is too short for us, we don't want to do it. Then PFF got in touch with the AIFF. The AIFF went into full drive. They got in touch with the central government of India. And by eventually Monday afternoon, the visas were issued for the entire team. Thank goodness for that. But because of how the visas were issued a bit late compared to if they were issued, let's say, a day or so earlier, Pakistan really did not have any time to take rest. So they took a flight and they reached in batches, literally hours before kickoff. So that mental, I would say, fatigue, anxiety, and you're facing India at home in Bengaluru was always going to be a factor. So that is the actual.
Sorry, I'm jumping in. Would I be right in saying कि थोड़ी खटास है फिर of the lead up to the game?
Absolutely.
Because वो हमारे हाथ में नहीं है, वो bureaucracy है.
Absolutely. No one is saying that the Indian Federation or the Indian football fans or the Indian fraternity is to blame. But there is a bit of anxiety. थोड़ी बहुत एक रंज और गम है कि यार अगर सरकारें हिंद जल्दी वीजा इशू कर देते यार तो अच्छा होता. ठीक है, it would not have meant Pakistan would have gone toe to toe and would have been like a 2-2 draw, 3-3 draw, because I know our team's limitations. But even if it was, for example, I'm just giving a hypothetical situation out here. If Pakistan had gotten there on time, I would have still expected India to win by a relatively comfortable margin, maybe 2-0 or if not 2-1, not more than that. But because of that stress, you did not have much time to sleep. You did not have much time to acclimatize on a rather heavy pitch in the Srikanti Vera Stadium in Bengaluru. So वो जो mental दबाव जो था, जो stress था आप पे, it got to a place. And you saw it with Saqib Hanif. He's not good on the ball. He's a good shot stopper, decent enough. Positioning is okay. But if you're playing from the back three, you're supposed to have a keeper who can play with his good feet. एक innocuous सी back pass Abdullah Iqbal देता है उसको. He took a touch. He could have just passed it down the right to, I think, Mamoon Musa. He tried to take a punt, and I think he took his eyes off the ball. And Sunil Chhetri pounced, because that's what Sunil Chhetri does. And he scored the opening goal. And then you're 1-0 down after 10 minutes. And then 5 minutes later, you concede a penalty. I mean, I personally think that was a bit harsh. I mean, Isa Suleiman was trying to move away, but the ball kind of hit his arm, and the referee just said, I've seen it given, I've seen it not given, 50-50 tha, mil gaya, theek hai. You are 2-0 down after 16 minutes, and you're fatigued, and you're jet lagged, and you're playing against India in India. काम तो काम खराब होना ना फिर आखिर में ना मियां.
Fair point, yeah, Ali. Thanks so much for that perspective, because perspective gives you such a different side to a story. Floyd, we've got two top-notch coaches here with us on the panel. Floyd, I'll ask you, if your team had to go through what Pakistan went through, and let's not even debate if there is a difference between the teams, what is the divide between the teams, what is the sort of impact it has on the players, not just physically but also psychologically?
No, it does have an impact physically, but the most important part here is where you come in as a coach, and you try to tune them mentally, because everything starts here. If you're strong mentally, I still remember that when we traveled to Russia to play the Seven Nations tournament in Russia, we arrived on the day of the kickoff. We arrived on the day of the kickoff, went onto the pitch. There was a big delay with respect to national anthems, etc., kickoff times, etc. We never knew anything was going to happen. But fortunately, we had a bunch of mentally strong players, who had just played the World Cup. So we were able to manage that game. But overall, we weren't able to obviously overcome Russia, but we were able to at least, hold ourselves on the field of play. But what I observed is, and I can relate to where the Pakistan football team is coming from, because I was on a similar flight to them from Mumbai to Bengaluru, and by the time I went to watch the game, I was in a state of tiredness and mental fatigue myself. So it's
Sir, उन्होंने आपको जूस नहीं दिया फ्लाइट पे?
मैं सो रहा था फ्लाइट पे. I don't want breakfast, don't wake me up. But you could see it in the warm up. They came in late for the warm up. They came in around at least 8 to 10 minutes late in the warm up. The warm up was very labored. The goalkeepers, when they were warming up, you couldn't figure out who's the number one goalkeeper. We were trying to figure out who's their number one goalkeeper. Then they ended the warm up a little bit in a hurry, went in. So you could figure out at the start of the game that something's not quite right mentally with them. They have not been able to overcome what's there. On the flip side, India were also kind of trying to shake off a little bit of rust from the Intercontinental Cup, winning that tournament, celebrating, traveling. So that moment of the lapse of concentration from the goalkeeper kind of changed everything in the game. Till then, I felt this game could go anywhere, because honestly, I was very, very surprised by the technical ability of the Pakistani players, because they were good on especially the centre forward. Whenever he got the ball, it stuck to his feet.
That's the boy playing in the lower divisions in England, right?
Yeah.
No, Hassan Bashir is he was our captain. He plays in the low divisions in Denmark. It's Otis Khan who plays on the left as a left centre forward. The short guy, number 7. That's Otis Khan. He plays for Grimsby Town in English League 2.
Even he on the ball, the winger, they were pretty. I didn't expect them to be technically so good on the ball. So every time they got it, it was a kind of what's going to happen now? They've got the ball in our attacking third. So till then, it was kind of interesting to watch. But as soon as that mistake happened, it was kind of, it was only going to go one way after that. So that's my take on it. So,
Mangi, Floyd has explained it really nicely till that time that first goal came. Generally, when we're talking about India और भारत की हम बात करते हैं, तो हम कहते हैं यार, when you're playing against teams that are a little lower ranked than you, or you're like steps ahead of them in terms of technical ability, in terms of preparation and so on, then generally they shut shop. तो फिर हमारी technical ability comes into play कि आप इनको कैसे खोलोगे. And we're not known for our technical ability. But were you surprised to see a certain intensity to the Indian team, to the way they kept on going at the Pakistani team after that first goal, and it continued till the end of the game?
I think it was, before I get into a little bit on the game, I was just going through one of the comments, I think after the game, if I'm not wrong, Otis Khan, I think he just said after the game that no excuse about the result. Okay, it's not about it's not about a 4-0 or 2-0. He just said that no matter how the team prepare or plan, a lot of times or often game plans go out of the window, and you need to adapt to it. I really like his spirit, when he said that. But at the same time, the preparation, about this game, I mean, the whole traveling issues and visa issues, that is something that we cannot discount it. As Ali also just, in the beginning, in the first one, he also mentioned that. But that is one. It was not an ideal situation, I guess, for I believe for the Pakistan to plan like preparation for this game, just arriving at a few hours before. But saying that, I think we all have yesterday we have seen that India was a better side yesterday. We are a better side. I mean, and like I said, I think yesterday was quite handful from even Anwar few times. I mean, it will not happen in every game. Sometimes what happened is like entire first half, even in the second half, till 60-70 minutes, Pakistan they were good enough to come back and lie low or have a low block. I mean, it was good. It was not easy to break for India. So India was patient enough yesterday not to just after 2-3 passes, not always looking for the final pass. At least India was patient enough. I think maybe Floyd, you will agree with me also. I think we were yesterday, we were a little patient enough to move the ball at least 7, 8, 9 times, the pass and look for the right opportunity. So then again, I think the fourth goal, if you see that, maybe Pakistan was a little desperate, a man already 3 down, and if we can get a goal out of this game, and that's when I think there was a gap between the goalkeeper and the back four. That's when Anwar got those, to hit that, very timely, calculated ball, and it was good touch from Udanto. All that nice ball. So what I'm saying is, sometimes, like I said, I think I've said in the previous, show also, where I think it's an asset to have Anwar also, and we don't have too many players, that quality in India. That's one part, but. Good to see from India yesterday. They were patient enough to wait for the right moment. They were not in the hurry. Yes, the goalkeeper, the mistake, unfortunate for any goalkeeper. I'm sure it wasn't easy. I'm very, to be honest, it was good for him. Even in what was the goal was at the 6th. What was it? The goal was at the. It was at the 9th minute.
9th minute.
9th minute में ना उसके बाद I think वो गलती होने के बाद I think for him to stand and see through the game for 80 minutes is not easy. For someone in playing it's a match between India and Pakistan. First game for both the teams in the SAFF Cup. वो गलती 10 मिनट में करके to see through the game, and I think you need this थोड़ा mentally strong होना पड़ेगा. For that, I think hats off to Hanif to see through the game. It wasn't easy, but yes, I think your questions was like how India dominated. Yes, I think we were patient. I think we took our chances. We were patient. I think that's all we needed. There's a lot of room still need to improve. Yes. Going forward, let's see how we do in the coming matches.
Ali bhai, थोड़ा and मैं ना थोड़ा वो I'm not trying to get into जो हो गया सो हो गया, ठीक है जी. Eventually फिर जो आपके 11 खिलाड़ी हैं, फिर आपके ऊपर ऐसी दर्जा, आपको जो करना है. पर मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ, थोड़ा मलाल है कि ऑर्गेनाइजर्स ने रीशेड्यूल नहीं किया, बिकॉज ये एक जेन्युइन सिचुएशन था जहाँ आप कुछ घंटे पहले ही पहुंचे हो. फ्लॉयड वाज एट द स्टेडियम, व्हिच इज व्हाई उन्होंने आंखों देखा हाल आपको बताया है क्या हुआ है.
थोड़ा सा लोगों को वो कंसर्न, गुस्सा जरूर आया था. बिट डिसअपॉइंटेड कि सैफ ने उस मैच को रीशेड्यूल नहीं किया. उन्होंने तो उसी वक्त कह दिया था ना कि जैसी ऑफिशियल रिक्वेस्ट आने से पहले कह दिया कि यार वी कैन नॉट रीशेड्यूल इट. आई मीन आई डोंट रियली एक्सपेक्ट.
गुंजाइश नहीं छोड़ी, सो देयर इज नो होप. ये है सिस्टम, ये सीन.
तो देयर वाज वन, सम पीपल वर सेइंग कि थोड़े हमारे जज्बाती किस्म के फैन थे, कहते कि यार ये आप फॉरफीट कर दो मैच. मैंने कहा कि यार खेल लो. And it takes a lot of mental fortitude and guts के यार जो मर्जी हुआ, जो मर्जी, was it right, was it wrong, was it deliberate, was it just unfortunate, just out of their hands, कि यार जो मर्जी हो खेलना जरूर है, जो मर्जी हो जाए, just get it out of the way. It takes a lot of guts to do so. और वो भी नहीं कि आप किसी normal local tournament खेल रहे हैं या किसी आप कोई अपने से कोई unknown team से खेल रहे हैं. You're playing against India in India. तो एक तो पाकिस्तान की टीम है, फिर इंडिया फैक्टर है, फिर आप इंडिया के अंदर खेल रहे हैं. It takes guts to say कि यार जो मर्जी हो जाए, we're going to play. Whatever happens, happens. And whatever happened, we all saw what happened across those 90 minutes. A little lapse of judgment, unfortunately, by Saqib. Some 2 soft penalties conceded, which were unnecessarily needed, by the way I see it. Just second penalty थी जो सुफियान ने जो चेत्री को फाउल किया था. I mean, Chhetri was clear through, but he was going a bit on the side. So all Sufyan had to do was just make sure that he should have at least tried to keep up with Chhetri and not make him have like a go ताकि वो कम से कम cross कर सके. Had he been able a bit smart or a bit more experienced, he might have been able to force Chhetri to, for example, try to get a corner for India instead. या कभी goal kick भी हो सकता था. But he just barged into Chhetri. Chhetri fell down because it was a foul, and referee had no choice but to give the penalty. But then of course,
is the boy the goalkeeper getting a lot of flack? Because अक्सर होता क्या है, उस ऐसी एक mistake के लिए ना, अब that mistake will follow him for a long time. Social media है, लोगों को मजाक उड़ाना पसंद है, आचा पाचा, you know how these things work.
of course. I mean, we all saw what happened to Karius at the 2018 Champions League final, did we? कि उस बेचारे के साथ क्या लिवरपूल के और नॉन लिवरपूल फैंस ने उसका बेचारे का बुरा हशर किया था सोशल मीडिया के ऊपर. साकिब के साथ भी यही अनफॉर्चुनेटली हुआ. A lot of trolling on social media, which is part and parcel of the game, but also a lot of disappointment too, because चूंकि साकिब हमारा domestic homegrown goalkeeper है. He's probably the best domestic goalkeeper we had. ठीक है, पाकिस्तान की पिछले 8 साल के अंदर because of the PFF disruptions, we've only had one single season of the Pakistan Premier League. One single season. At least Saqib has kept himself busy. जब भी मालदीव्स में कोई लीग सीजन होता है ना, उसको कोई ना कोई क्लब यार तुम आके खेल ले, and he does okay over there. Mid table finish आ जाती है. He's kept himself active. तो लेकिन but वही बात है ना, the kind of style Shahzad Anwar wants the Pakistan team to play, that you try to build from the back. You need to have a goalkeeper who is comfortable with his feet. Saqib is not comfortable with his feet, unfortunately. Yusuf Butt जिसको drop किया था, the guy from Denmark, he was dropped. He's comfortable with his feet. तो सबसे खास बात एक बात बताऊं यूसुफ बट के बारे में, पूरे 90 मिनट यूसुफ बट इतना अपने डिफेंडर्स पे चीखता है ना, गालियां करता है, चीखता है, मतलब कहते हैं ना कि जो टिपिकल की यार ऑर्गेनाइज करो, पुश अप पुश बैक, उसको देखो, इसको देखो, क्या कर. हाँ, प्रॉपर ना. मुझे याद पड़ता है जब यूसुफ बट एक्चुअली मेड हिज डेब्यू बैक इन 2011, तो जो पाकिस्तान के उस वक्त डोमेस्टिक डिफेंडर्स थे ना, समर इसाक और कामरान मलिक, वो कहते हैं कि यार जी चाहता है कि यूसुफ का गला दबा दूं, यार इतना बोलता तो क्यों है. वो कहता है कि भाई बोलना पड़ता है, कि मैं नहीं बोलूंगा तो कुछ समझ नहीं, ये करना क्या है. बिकॉज जो कीपर देखता है ना अपने सामने, he sees everything happening in front of him, every single move he knows, so he has to be on the top of his game. Saqib unfortunately और domestic goalkeepers का एक फुकदान है ही हमारे यहाँ, that they don't know how to be vocal across the 90 minutes. और साकिब का ये था, again, a very good kid. I've seen him play since 2009. Very good good shot stopper, but he's a typical Pakistani goalkeeper. So your domestic level का ना, तो I really wish it was a gamble which Shahzad played, because Yusuf in that Djibouti match in the Four Nations in Mauritius, he had a bit of lapse of concentration, because एक ball जो speculative long ball आई थी from the Djibouti box, Yusuf tried to rush off his line to close the gap down. The striker just lobbed it over him and it went a goal. जो तीसरा गोल था Djibouti का, it was one of those training ground headers जो आप 99 times तो try करें कभी नहीं होगा. 2 defenders के बीच में Djibouti के center forward को head मिलता है. The ball somehow loops over Yusuf and into the back of the net. अगर Yusuf थोड़ा पीछे होता, he would have easily caught it, or at least palmed it away clear. He was a bit off his line. तो वो जो प्रेशर था ना कि यार यूसुफ ने क्या गन कैसे बेहतर आप लोकल अपने गोलकीपर को खिलाओ, साकिब ये साकिब वो है. सो डोमेस्टिक लेवल पे मैं बताता हूँ ना गुरमंगी जी, मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि पाकिस्तान का जो डोमेस्टिक फुटबॉल का जो फेसबुक और व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप है ना, आप सर पकड़ लोगे. आई मीन द काइंड ऑफ, मैं बता रहा हूं आपको, आई मीन इट्स एन एंटायर रैबिट होल. आई डोंट, मैं तो उस पे जिस तरह वो क्रिकेट की बदनामे जमाना झांटू स्पेसेस नहीं हुई थी कुछ अर्सा पहले, जब इंडिया पाकिस्तान का जो क्रिकेट मैच हुआ था एशियन कप में, एशिया कप के अंदर, मैं उस पे एक इस तरह की एक लाइव सेशन कर सकता हूं. बट मैं थोड़ा तमीज के दायरे में रहकर चाहता हूं कि मैं भी ना करूं. बट मैं जरूर कहूंगा कि बहुत सारे हमारे अफराद जो है पाकिस्तानी फुटबॉल के अंदर, दे प्रेफर कि भाई वी शुड प्ले आवर डोमेस्टिक होम ग्रोन टैलेंट फर्स्ट. ये फॉरेनर्स को लाने की क्या जरूरत है, भाई वो भी पाकिस्तानी है. They are citizens of Pakistan because they've dual nationality.
But I'm really glad you brought this up, because see the reason, rather than just talking about the game, there's a much larger picture to it, right? तो हमारे देश में क्या हो रहा है कि there is a certain section of the media, there is a certain section of the management who believe हमारे यहाँ पे क्या है, player of Indian origin allowed नहीं है. You have to forego your passport, you have to then accept Indian citizenship, and then you will be allowed to play over here. Now that doesn't make sense for someone who has an England passport, who has an English passport, or somewhere in Europe or the other. Why would you forego that passport? It's a strong passport. आप लोगों के वहाँ पे वैसा सीन है नहीं. Just I'm trying to understand, when you're getting these players from abroad who are playing in these lower leagues in Europe and so on, is it making a world of a difference to the team? Is it making a world of a difference to the way football is being looked at in the country? Because हमारे देश में अक्सर ये बोला जाता है कि एक क्विक फिक्स ये है कि आपके इतने इंडियन ओरिजिन प्लेयर्स हैं यूरोप में, इतने सारे खेल रहे हैं, आप 11 पकड़ लो वहां से और खिला दो, पहुंच जाओ वर्ल्ड कप। ऐसा है क्या सिस्टम भाई?
देखिए, ये पूरी दुनिया का दस्तूर है, बिकॉज जो भी मुल्क, कोई भी देश अपनी नेशनल टीम को इंप्रूव करना चाहता है, वो हमेशा तलाश करता है ऐसे प्लेयर्स को who play at a much higher level than the domestic football, for example. It happens everywhere in the world. Some countries, for example, मैं एग्जांपल आपको दूं, सूरीनाम की, जो कैरेबियन कंट्री है, साउथ अमेरिका में आता है, डच फॉर्मर डच कॉलोनी थी, 80s onwards, because Suriname was an ex-Dutch colony, they did not allow dual citizenship. Guess what kind of players they missed out on in the 80s and 90s? Frank Rijkaard, Ruud Gullit, Aaron Winter, Patrick Kluivert, इस तरह के प्लेयर मिस आउट किए थे बिकॉज सूरीनाम डिड नॉट अलाउ डुअल सिटीजनशिप। अब कहीं जाके उन्होंने अपनी नेशनलिटी लॉ चेंज किया एंड दे आर गेटिंग सूरीनामीज डिसेंट के जो डच फुटबॉलर्स हैं फ्रॉम द एरिडिविजी एंड द एरेस्टिविजी, सेकंड, फर्स्ट और सेकंड डिवीजन के। तो दैट्स जस्ट वन एग्जांपल आउट देयर। मोरक्को को देख लें, जिस तरह वर्ल्ड कप के सेमीफाइनल में पहुंचे थे, मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द स्क्वाड वाज बोर्न एंड रेज्ड इन यूरोप। ठीक है, हकीम जियश प्लेड फॉर द डच यूथ टीम्स। मोरक्कन फेडरेशन ने डच एफए से लड़के उसको लिया कि यार तू हमारा स्टार बनेगा, तू मोरक्कन है, तू हमारा स्टार बनेगा। और हकीम कहता है यार मेरे अम्मा अब्बा तो हैं ही मोरक्को के, तो मैं भी अपने को मोरक्कन ही कहता हूं ना, बिकॉज देयर आर मल्टीपल लेयर्स ऑफ आइडेंटिटी ना, दैट यू माइट बी अ डच but you also might be Moroccan because of your ethnic or your national background.
But why I'm asking for Pakistan is because there are similar characteristics.
Sure.
We have a big brother called cricket. We're always chasing that big brother called cricket. So we're saying there are teams over here that haven't played. Okay, चलो India अब थोड़ा बहुत Asian Cup खेलने लग गया है regular basis पे. Also because they've expanded the Asian Cup. Number of teams they've expanded. तो हमारे लिए आसान हो गया है. I'm just trying to understand that ever since the foreign players come in, they play for the national team. Is there a instant impact? Because that is the thinking here कि आप foreign player लाओगे जो बाहर खेल रहा है origin का, एकदम से एक impact आएगा, आपका level एकदम से बढ़ जाएगा।
I certainly do agree with that perspective as long as this kind of option is taken seriously by the head coach of the national team and there is stability in that one, एक long term vision हो। जैसा मैंने अभी पहले भी अर्ज किया था, in the last 8 years India has played over 70 international full senior matches. Pakistan has only played 13. So there have been years in which Pakistan had absolutely zero games. So if there was continuity, for example, if Pakistan की ये जो सियासी बहरान चल रहा था PFF के अंदर, ये पिछले 8 साल से ना हो रहा होता, you would have at least had some kind of stability. You would have at least seen enough games so that your best domestic talent and your best diaspora talent को एक अच्छी integrative unit बना के you would have moved forward with that one. इसमें कोई शक की बात नहीं कि जो भी आप diaspora player बाहर से लाएंगे, especially the kind of structure of the league or the club they play with, they will have the technical ability जो कि आपका domestic standard इतने आराम से मैच नहीं कर सकता। Because पाकिस्तान का domestic football, for better or for worse, is essentially somewhere between amateur and semi-professional. इंडिया में तो चले कम से कम ISL और I League की वजह से it was an organic growth into becoming a professional structure. मैं नहीं कह रहा कि इंडियन फुटबॉल टीम को जरूरत है कि वो तमाम के तमाम 11 और persons of Indian origin को लाके टीम में डालें। आपने सिर्फ चंद प्लेयर लाने हैं, सिर्फ चंद प्लेयर, maybe 3 or maximum 4, not more than that. This is a good Indian team that you already have. You just need to build the quality ताकि you become a bit more incisive when it comes to beating teams like, I don't know, South Korea, Iran, Uzbekistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, etc. You know, you need a little extra touch. मैं थोड़ा सा बस मैं conclude करने वाला हूँ पाकिस्तान के यहाँ से. Because Pakistan has not been able to fully utilize this diaspora talent for the last 8 years at least, and because we've not been playing regularly. The previous federation just didn't care about playing regular friendly matches, for example. तब टीम आपकी बिल्ड होती है ना। होता ये था कि अच्छा टूर्नामेंट आ रहा है SAFF कप का, चलो 6 हफ्ते का कैंप लगा लो, फिर हम टीम को भेजते हैं मैचेस के लिए। इंडिया की टीम होती है कि यार चलो SAFF कप 6 महीने बाद आना है, अभी FIFA विंडो आने वाली है, लेट्स प्ले कपल ऑफ फ्रेंडलीज, लेट्स प्ले कपल ऑफ टीम्स दैट वी कैन बीट, ताकि कम से कम एक अच्छा रिदम एक आए, you know, get some things going on, then we gain the confidence, then we go into a bit more prepared than that. Pakistan literally ad hoc basis pe, yaar, event to event basis pe. So the people in charge of the PFF never really took it seriously. Our domestic coaches have that little chip on their shoulder कि नहीं यार हमारा talent है, सब बेहतर है। मैं सर पकड़ लेता हूँ, मैं 20 साल से पाकिस्तानी फुटबॉल को फॉलो कर रहा हूँ कि सर जी अगर आपका निजाम ठीक नहीं है ना, लोकल टैलेंट का कोई फायदा नहीं। या तो प्रोफेशनल निजाम आप बनाएं and then wait 10 years for it to mature. अगर नहीं कर सकते ना, तो जो बेस्ट आपका डोमेस्टिक प्लेयर है और जो डायस्पोरा का प्लेयर आप ला सकते हैं, उनको आप मैच खिलवाएं, friendlies as much as you can, and then you see a team building up eventually as the years go by.
Bhai, firstly we love the way you speak. बड़ा मजा आ रहा है आपको सुन के. Floyd, where do you stand on this debate? Yeah, because it's been going on for so long. You heard the Pakistani side of it. But he's also given you conditions applied कि मतलब आप बुला तो लोगे पर वहाँ पे गुल्ली डंडा तो नहीं खिलाओगे ना, अगर मुझे मुकाबले ही नहीं है तो बंदे से करवाओगे, रोटी बलवाओगे, क्या करवाओगे आप? तो यहाँ पे suppose there's a system and now you're seeing, and I'm saying I'm listening to Ali right now and मेरे दिमाग में एक ही चीज आ रहा है, grass is always greener on the other side. हम यहाँ पे रोते रहते हैं, हमें मैच नहीं मिल रहे, हमारा सिस्टम ठीक नहीं है. अली के सामने आके हम तो we're sounding like as if we are the Manchester United or England in terms of system. So you know there's always that to look at it. But just purely on this debate of player of Indian origin, where do you stand on it? And what do you think are the positives or the negatives if you do go ahead or
No,
if you don't?
if the only thing is, see, we cannot change anything because it's not in our hands. It's a government ruling. So I don't think that's ever going to change. Whether it's going to make us better, 100% it will. You bring in example. You bring in a player like Jan Danda, who's been in the Liverpool academy, who's played for Swansea in the Championship, in the Premier League, at his prime, not when he's about to retire from football and hang up his boots and just come in for just on the back end of his career. They are seeing a level of football so high that I don't think we'll ever see it in the next 10-15 years to come or whatever. So they are obviously going to improve the way we play. Just an example, the Pakistan side, what I liked about them, but they were so much more technical in their gameplay when they had the ball that I didn't expect it. And I'm sure the reason for that is the players that have come from overseas.
Could you specify what exactly in that technicality did you like?
Every time the ball went up, the touch, the ability to have a little beating of a 1v1, especially the player who played as a centre forward, the two wingers on either side of him. They were playing back five with the two midfielders and then the three up front. So all the three players up front had a bit of a skill attack, a beating of a 1v1 to them. Whenever the ball went to them, they kept it more than they lost it, to be honest.
Yeah, please, Floyd. Don't get distracted by this handsome young man who's joined us from the forests in Manipur. Please carry on.
Yeah, and even in the first 5 minutes, in the first 10 minutes, I think they had 3 corners. They got the first header on each and every corner. They got the first header on each and every corner with respect to the delivery, with respect to the movement, the jump. That quality was there, which I didn't at all expect. I expected them to be rugged, hard-working, destructive players, kind of players to hit on the counter, similar to what maybe Nepal would do or Bangladesh would do. But their style of play, I think, has changed completely because of the way of the players that they bought. So it doesn't matter where the players come from, as long as they come in from their prime. If it is allowed, I'm sure they will improve the senior national team, because technical, tactical, physical, and mental, they'll be at a different level to what our players are, because they've seen that. It's similar to the coaches that come to this country. They are working at such a high level. They are working with professionals. They are working at the competition that they are with. When they bring that to India, they just need to find a base from which they can start working upwards. That's what I mean.
Fair point. Mangi, I'll come to you before I get Varun Dhawan onto the show. Mangi, you agree in terms of how Floyd
nothing
has
has changed as far as
nothing has changed. भाई आप वहाँ पे कुछ भी कर लो, आप लड़ाई रुकवा दो, हम आपको तब भी 2 रुपए के पेप्सी यानी भाई सेक्सी ही कहेंगे हम. मैं कह रहा हूँ, Mangi, were you also?
Good to see you all, man.
Mangi, were you also surprised by the technicality? And where do you weigh in on this PIO debate? You agree that it would definitely be a positive for India? Because you're someone who's tried in Australia, you've gone and played over there. And so you understand what the scene is outside. Is it a quick fix, or is it something we need?
I think what can be applied in Pakistan today might not be applicable here in our country. Let's put it that way. Because I think at the moment, as Ali Hassan has just explained about the whole scenario in Pakistan for the last 8 years, हमारे यहाँ पे at least we are, as आप बता रहे हैं, we sounds like we are definitely
Compared to Pakistan, India is doing much better in domestic and international football.
So
I can tell you that.
So from the yeah, from that standpoint, I think we have a structure. Even though there's a hierarchy of like second division, there's the hierarchy that we have. Whether we are doing it right or wrong, I think we can always debate for the rest of our life. But I think we have a structure. So that's one. I think so. Might not be situation alag is me. Then second thing, as you have said, the PIO is fixed or not. As Bert also said that it's a government's rules. We don't have a dual citizenship. But in my own experience, in the last as a player, I'm not as a coach. मैंने इसमें भी दो चीजें आई थिंक फ्लोइड यू विल एग्री विद मी आल्सो क्योंकि कोई आके यहाँ पे हम इसको रेड कार्ड पे तो नहीं बिछाएगा आगे he has to prove also right he has to prove that he is good enough to wear the blue
भाई
jersey
बीच में
also.
आए थे ना आप लोगों के टाइम पे मंगी भाई कौन आए थे जो ट्रायल दे रहे थे लड़के आप लोगों के टाइम पे
yeah so in my that's why I'm saying that I'm talking about I'm just recalling since you guys are talking about this PIO ka so I had a friend from Denmark his name is Simran Arora he's from Delhi he's born brought up there okay so I met him when we were all under 18-19 but he was good he was good I think he got injured and he has to leave the camp otherwise having him I'm sure he will bring some something in the team also like he was good let's put it that way. Then he continued playing in Denmark and he has a Danish passport. He was ready to give up, तभी उसके बाद Indian passport था. बाद में उन्होंने Danish passport change कर दिया, उन्हें football को छोड़ दिया अभी. I met him few times. So कहने का मतलब है कि he was good then. Then खुद senior team में I'm telling you the other thing is मेरा भाई Michael Chopra. तो Michael आया था. This was towards the preparation में. I think anybody I think if you remember you were there or what like Dubai कहाँ था? I think it was in Dubai.
Yeah.
हम लोग कोई किसी I don't remember किसके साथ मैच
Asian Cup
Iraq Asian Cup में दुबई या I think we were playing a friendly दुबई या कोई किसी मैच का था तो बोला सुबह
I think you guys were camping in Dubai also
we were camping in Dubai one morning we went down for breakfast तो बोला यार चोपड़ा आया तो हेलो कर दिया चोपड़ा बस सबको हेलो ऐसा लग रहा है चोपड़ा भी अगले दिन हमारे प्रैक्टिस में उतरने वाला है तो हम थोड़ा चलो चोपड़ा जब भी आई थिंक ही वाज इन संडरलैंड थोड़ा फॉर्म में था भाई ठीक ठाक लगता था कि हाँ यार चलो यार चोपड़ा भाई भी कुछ लेके आएंगे टीम के लिए चलो वी आर ऑल वेलकम कोई भी इंडियन टीम के लिए वेदर यू आर ऑल फॉरेनर जो भी दैट्स व्हाई आई सेड हर कोई ऐसा आके उसको he will not have the access even if you are allowed to play for the country you have to be good enough to wear the jersey by simple is that I think that will be the simple rule now so मेरा कहने का है कि चोपड़ा भाई आया था तो चोपड़ा बोला he is going to watch the match because शाम को हमारा मैच था किसी के साथ तो वो मैच थोड़ा खराब हारा था हमने तो वो बोला अगले दिन चोपड़ा गायब हो गया तो बाद में हमने ISL में ना भाई
अंडे खा के निकल गए
तभी से मिला नहीं था चोपड़ा ISL के बाद ISL भी खेला था मैं बोला भाई I think we saw you last in Dubai उसके बाद तो गायब हो गया अभी now you are here तो कहने का मतलब I think I know it makes sound like little I'm distracting a little bit but if the person I think if anyone whether it's from any part of the country he has an Indian passport or whether if the government change the rule the PIO is allowed not allowed if the person is good, he's going to bring something more. And the head coach, whoever the head coach is ready to bring the person, and he thinks that he's going to add more value or to the team. I'm sure I think we should welcome because he's an Indian at the end, right? So, but one has to work hard for that. I think, yeah. So.
Annie bhai, thanks Mangi. That was a nice, nice story you told us about Michael Chopra. Though it must be said, Michael Chopra was ready to forego his passport. I remember if I had heard my
yes, he was ready to go. मगर पता नहीं वो चला गया भाई एक दिन के बाद
हाँ फिर वो चले गए वापस आई थिंक पता नहीं चेंज ऑफ हार्ट हो गया होगा एनी भाई एनी इज इन मणिपुर राइट नाउ एंड जोक्स असाइड मणिपुर इज गोइंग थ्रू अ बैड सीन राइट नाउ भाई पहले थोड़ा वहाँ का बिकॉज मणिपुर इज लाइक द हब in terms of factory of Indian football the kind of players is given to Indian football भाई हो क्या रहा है वहाँ पे और उसके बाद जरा आप PIO वाले डिबेट पे वेन आ जाइए
बिल्कुल तो ब्रॉडर आई थिंक जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट चल रहा है उस पे तो हम यहाँ पे बात नहीं करेंगे बट जो भी चल रहा है ठीक नहीं चल रहा है यहाँ पे एंड लाइक यू आर मेंशनिंग दैट इट इज लाइक I think still 50% or so of all the men who are pro footballers, women as well, are from Manipur. Now, because on the ground things are completely divided, the football ecosystem has gone for a complete toss. There's some talk of organized practices restarting and things like that, but the entire state is involved in this, engulfed in this conflict, irrespective of whether you belong to the Meitei community or the Kuki community, which are the two sides that are kind of facing off. Even everyone else, the rest of the 40% of the state's population is also as much a part of the scene. So football is a long way from I think people's minds, in the sense that it still remains important. We met, for example, India international Chingman Sana Singh at where he's staying. He has had to his family has had to flee from where their home in Chushanpur and come to Bishnupur, where they are staying in the old home of another footballer, Salam Ranjan, and finding shelter there, living as refugees. And this story has happened on both sides. Key footballers who were living in Imphal have similarly had to go away, and there is no chance of them returning anytime in the near future. So what is happening in Manipur is extremely sad, and I think football is a very important prism to also kind of look at it through, because all sections of society have been severely hit, man. And there's been very little coverage, unfortunately, of it from the ground. Lots of debates in studios in Delhi and other places are happening, but very few in terms of the national media is actually here and reporting on the situation and actually giving out this, or giving the space for people to tell their own story. But there is hope, of course, and that is the only way I think any of us can survive. And अगर हमने 20 साल से इंडियन फुटबॉल के साथ या 20 साल से क्या जिंदगी भर हमारा क्या कहते हैं नाता रहा है इंडियन फुटबॉल से, तो we all live on hope. इतना तो we have in common.
आर्सेनल भी डाल दो आप, अब जमाना बदल गया, ठीक है, आर्सेनल का नाम नहीं ले रहे अब.
So there comes in the PIO side of the story, I guess, which we can get to. But as of now, yeah, it's an extremely unfortunate. Several of the ISL boys who are in off season are trying to do what they can, where some facilities, some pitches are available. They are using those to
names,
fit, to keep training, keep in touch with the game before, I guess, pre-season camps begin. I guess early next month. So tough scenes for everyone, and like also side by side, sort of team selection for various state level teams is happening. And unfortunately, the boys and girls who are being selected, the women's team is playing the senior nationals wherever that's happening. I'm not even sure. We don't have access to the internet, so I haven't seen the game either, and there's no chance that I will be able to. We have to come somewhere to be able to use this, and I'm actually, I guess, I feel a little bit bad for eating up some of that bandwidth. But it's an important, I think, conversation, and through 420 grams also we have to engage more on the subject of what's going on in Manipur for the football fraternity to get a sense of how bad things really are and how much the political elite need to get their act together and get a dialogue and a peace process over here started. So that's the broad sort of strokes, man. On what's happening in Manipur. The other bit, anything specific you want me to talk about, but because, or I missed also most of your kind of earlier conversations, so I don't really have a context.
No, we're just talking about this whole PIO debate because last night India played a team where they allow their players, the Pakistani origin players, to come and represent the Pakistan team, even if you don't have a Pakistani passport.
Yeah.
And Ali was telling us.
Let me just interject. You need to have a Pakistani. You need to have a Pakistani passport to play for Pakistan. But because Pakistan allows dual citizenship, you don't have to give up your European passport for that.
Done. Understood. So, bhai, so on the other side is that story. And आपने और मैंने जितना इस शो पे बातचीत करी है, one is always taking on the federation and the powers that be is taking 90% of our time, and the other 10% has gone away talking about PIO. तो ये PIO debate सामने फिर से आ गया क्योंकि वहाँ पे आप ये देखो ना, the kind of benefits it's given a team like Pakistan, and then you have a team like India. So okay, there's one way of looking at it. There's no point talking about it because the government is not budging, right? So उसके बारे में सोचना कि क्या point है. But I'm just trying to understand, because here you have a Pakistani team, and there are some short-term benefits or not. Or how do you look at something like this?
How I look at it essentially is that the reverse process needs to happen more, man. like you correctly pointed out, these rules are beyond our control. The government of India is not going to suddenly allow dual nationality. In fact, even for people who hold PIO or OCI status, person of Indian origin, or something overseas citizen of India, even for those people, the kind of jobs they can do here in India, etc., are regulated and monitored and all of that. So just to have a stronger national football team in the short term, I doubt the government is going to change the rules, because these are complicated issues that involve dual sort of or mutual relationships between these various countries, right? And they apply then people who are working across sectors, not just in football. One point I want to bring in is what I think Richard or somebody shared on our group the other day, which is how England post-Brexit has changed some rules, right? So now, based on clubs' requirement, they can go
it's a good
outside
ruling.
and bring players in. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that, or what my opinion on this is that the reverse process needs to be encouraged. If you look at the example of the number one for India in goal, he, at some sacrifice to himself, made the decision and was able to, and things worked out. And all the conditions were right. He was young enough, tall enough, etc., to go to Norway and spend those 2-3 years and completely up the level he was at from when he was at East Bengal before that. Because of that, the long-term impact that it has had on his career, firstly, the kind of money that he's made when he's come back, the kind of security that he has from an economic perspective, as well as the part will play as not just a goalkeeper, but a leader in the national team set up for another 10 years maybe. That kind of experience, exposure is invaluable, I think. And the more kids or young people from India that get a chance to go out and play and participate in those systems and learn from there, because whatever league structure we have domestically today, I think the European leagues, even several of the Asian leagues, Japan, Malaysia, Indonesia, so many countries, they are far more entrenched, far more developed, far more competitive. So the learning process is that the learning curve is that much steeper in that sense, right? So instead of talking about, I think, or instead of focusing on the short, I don't doubt that if we really scour the entire Indian diaspora all around, whether it's Europe or Asia, Southeast Asia, or Australia, maybe North America, we will find players of high quality who will add in the short term to the national team. Like Mangi was pointing out, they will not walk in necessarily, right? But the flip side of that is that then even less emphasis will be played on actually building a robust and solid domestic structure, which for the next 30 years, 40 years, 50 years continues to produce those players of that quality, and it keeps growing. It's that fish wala story, you give a guy a fish, one day he'll eat, but you teach the guy how to fish, then he can probably eat for the rest of his life. So we have to learn to fish in our own pond, I think, and not talk so much.
आते ही भाई, आते ही मतलब छोड़ रहे हो आप, हैं? क्या बात है, आते ही आपने महफिल पकड़ ली है, मान गए आपको. But Floyd, so this is a nice point he brings out. And now that rule change has come about, which handcuffed Sunil Chhetri and his move into Europe and QPR, and we know the entire story. You were part of an under-17 batch that was going all over the world. You were part of an under-17 batch that was playing a World Cup. So I'm sure there must have been inquiries at least around those players. If there were, could you tell us a few? Also, because generally what we've always debated is, why would an Indian go abroad, a boy who's worked all his life, to get a solid paycheck, say he's getting 10 rupees here, as opposed to going abroad, not getting playing time and get 2 rupees over there? That is the dilemma, isn't it? At times.
100%. Just adding forward to what Annie said, I hope with the rule change now, at least the players go abroad and start fishing there. If they can fish there and catch some fishes there, it will only help Indian football. But again, it's not easy. No matter what we say, okay, any player, you're technically, tactically, mentally, physically good enough and go and play in those leagues. Ultimately, it comes down to the finances. At this moment of time, there have been many players. Take Princeton, for example. Princeton was in the AIFF under 17 setup, and he had the opportunity of getting a Portuguese passport as well. Or I think he has a Portuguese passport as well. He had the opportunity to join Leicester. On
Really?
hand, just
When was this?
yes. This was way back, I think, about when I was in the AIFF. So that was around when he was, say, 18 years old. So he had the opportunity. He had gone to Wolves, he had gone to Leicester for trials, and he had the opportunity. But he wanted to play for the Indian national team. He didn't want to give up his Indian passport. So that was his motivation to come back and then play for the national team. So there are opportunities for young Indian players to go there. I'm sure if not in the first team, first league, they can play in the second, third divisions, obviously. But are they willing to take that financial risk of That's the main thing, because you have the likes of Suresh,
Floyd, the agents, the parents, everyone to tell them their small system around them, their close circle to tell them, look, take this pay cut for a bigger, solid paycheck later on in life.
Yeah, but is that going to be guaranteed later on in life? That's also there. So a lot of parents so from Bombay, for example, coming from a metro city, there are a lot of talented players who want to go abroad and play. But we would advise them, okay, why not go to the US, leverage football, get a good curriculum background, because when you're in the US, the system is so structured that you know exactly where you are in the system. You get the opportunity to prove yourself as a footballer if you make it to the varsity team. The first setback you get is, oh my God, I'm not part of the varsity team. That means I'm not good enough. So either you try harder, make it to the varsity team, then after that make it to Division 1, Division 2 football, or that kind of football. If not, you still have the opportunity to pursue a good career in the field that you've taken in the university. But there are many other players who said, no, I don't want to go by that. They've gone to Spain, they've gone to England, and tried to train in private academies, and also side by side continue their educational back, which is a different aspect altogether. But then over a certain point of time, they realize, okay, this is not going to be feasible over the long term. And eventually, either they come back to Indian football and try to make it here, or they join a university for higher studies, and then that's it with respect to their football. And they may be playing at some recreational level out there. So that's where it stands right now, from my experience of metro cities.
I spot on solid points there, and important also in that sense. I think for young people to get to hear this, because if you have to go to let's say an NCAA Division 1 college in the US, you have to then go there and meet academic criteria as well in order to play in the varsity team that
मतलब किताब खोलनी पड़ती है आपको.
Sorry to butt in. Sorry to butt in. The standards that they set to just get into the varsity team is ridiculous. They have physical standards that you have to, the tests that you have to do out here, and the timings that you have to give them. The strength and conditioning program is ridiculous. If you can just match that, you're halfway there, and then you go out there and physically compete with the people who are vying for that one spot in the university is crazy. Sorry.
Yeah.
I want to just butt in here. Yeah, sure. I think what both Ane and Floyd just said about, I see two scenarios here. Just listening to both of them, two scenarios here. For someone like 13, 14 years, 15 years old, who is aspired to become, say, eventually get into senior football, right? And but not yet able to make it to the competitive football in the country, for example, in whatever structure we are talking about, whether it's school or the Super Pro, or whether it's a youth, youth league that we have for the IFA, So what I'm saying is, so like 13, 14 years old, you want to get into a system, whether it's in the US or in Europe, that you are not losing on your academic part as well. And I think that's completely one scenario here. Then I want to talk about a little bit on, maybe a little similar to what I have gone through, that age. Like I think Floyd, for someone who is already part of the structure, let's say you are already part of a team who under 17 or under 16 playing in the youth league, so you already had the experience of playing in a competitive environment, competitive matches, maybe I don't know, every week or so that there's a two perspective now. So what I see in India now is like, I remember, I don't know if I'm not wrong, there's like last year someone told me that there's like 300 Indian boys training in Spain, paying some, I don't know, 20-25 lakhs per year.
भाई जा कहाँ रहे हैं फिर ये उसके बाद वो कहाँ है,
No,
वो कहाँ
I'm
घूम रहे
saying,
हैं?
I don't know the number, Floyd. I don't know the number. There's some 400, around 400 boys in Spain. Maybe
The
they're
thing
not
is-
looking out on. No,
Yeah.
हाँ भाई ना तो मैं कहने का मतलब है कि that's one scenario. I don't know how much they're going to help in our football ecosystem, like eventually getting into the like a competitive football. So that's one. Another thing is जैसा मैं बता रहा था कि I would encourage this. My last statement, I want to say that I would encourage anyone who's already part of the Indian team under 17 and 18 or a youth team who maybe like एक तो जैसा आप बता था कि आप तो if you need to find your own way, या तो किसी साइड से या पेरेंट्स या कोचेस आपको बताना पड़ेगा कि भाई you have the potential, pursue it, try, जाके बाहर निकल के देखो. So by 17, 18, 19, 20, maybe I am saying it, maybe it's easy for me to say coming from this position, like in a position in this saying, kyunki I was fortunate enough, let's put it that way, to be part of like how Floyd being part of the under 17, the whole setup. I also one of the players who was part of the whole setup under 17, 18, 19, 20 till the senior football.
Yeah,
So
you had Tata Football Academy as well.
Yeah, Tata, 4 साल वहाँ से फिर I went through the thing. Then I was exposed pretty early, the 17, 18 years में, playing for the Milk Cup, playing for the Enverus Trophy, playing the numerous other European youth team के साथ, playing against them. तो मेरा भी उस समय already, I was talking about like those early 2000s में, मेरा दिमाग में रहता है यार कभी तो आके इनके साथ, I was playing against them, but the experience of playing against them is at least you know where you stand, fine. But I want to explore that also one part where I want to train with them. I want to be part of इनका setup में. I want to see that. I don't know when I will get that opportunity. That was somewhere back in the mind था भाई. तभी.
भाई
So,
but जब आप ऑस्ट्रेलिया गए, क्या आपके दिमाग में आया कि थोड़ा लेट कर दिया मैंने?
लेट थोड़ा सा हुआ फिर भी I was ready to forgo against some of the financial risks जो था. मगर मेरा दिमाग में ये था
I'm not asking you the amount, but how much of a drop would it have been? Just trying to understand कितना ड्रॉप लेना पड़ता है कि ये जो सोचते हैं ना कि यूरोप जाओ, ये हुआ कि यूरोप में खेलो, बड़े पैसे मिलेंगे, ऐसा है नहीं. The reality, at least for someone coming from India, Pakistan and all of that.
But this is I'm talking about 2010. But today, Floyd will agree with today is a different numbers we are talking about. Today is a crazy numbers. Okay, today is a crazy number. But 2010 साल 13 साल पहले का बात कर रहा हूँ. उस समय में I could have stayed if I'm not. अगर मेरा बस बॉब से जब फोन में बात हुआ था, तो क्लब सेट की because they have the pay structure right वहाँ पे minimum salary whatever Australia. So I was fall into one of the second वाला structure. So मान ले I have to say मान ले यहाँ पे मैं 10 रुपया कमा रहा था. Then वहाँ पे मैं 5 रुपया में खेलना पड़ता मेरे को.
तो आधा
तो मैं 10 रुपया.
And at that time you were a proper international with the team.
हाँ उस समय में that is what I'm saying. No, भाई I was comfortable for few years. भाई इंडिया में लीग में I took few years to establish myself. बाद में I was comfortable होने के बाद मैंने बोला यार मौका मिलने से एक बार जाना चाहता हूँ. जब मौका मिला वहाँ पे मेलबर्न kind enough for them to invite me. I was part of about a month. पूरा प्री सीजन पूरा ऑस्ट्रेलिया टूर तो मार के आया मैंने. टीम के साथ काफी फ्रेंडली मैचेस खेला, थोड़ा मैचेस खेल के आया. तो मेरा कहने का मतलब है कि I would still encourage by that's maybe it comes down to again individuals का अपना लाइफ में where do they want to go. But मेरा था कि maybe तो कीड़ा कहाँ से लगा था शुरू में 17-18 साल में मैंने पूरा सो घूम के जब निकला तो मैं बोला यार एक बार I want to be part of this system. तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया का जब गया था so that was the system. But ये था कि मैंने कॉल किया था I need to make a decision. टीम ऑलरेडी ट्रैवल कर चुका था पोर्चुगल में. This was after 2010. एशिया कप के लिए प्रिपेयर कर रहा था. टीम ऑलरेडी चला गया. वो को कॉल किया. मैंने बोला कि सर ये सिनेरियो है. I would love to stay at the same time, but also I don't want to miss out the Asia Cup. उन्हें बोला कि मंगी, you have been part of the team for very very many years now, and you are one of the players that we want you to be here. But अगर वहाँ पे नहीं खेलेगा तो यहाँ पे भी नहीं होगा. तो उसने इसलिए बोला 2 वर्ड में बोला, ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं बोला. उसके जितना इंग्लिश
that was nice, man. Very clean, very clear with you.
हाँ, very clean. कोई वो नहीं था. मेरा 2 महीने का बार होगा मंगी. If you don't play there, maybe he was मैं बोला समझ गया. मैं बोला ठीक है. मैं समझ गया. मैं फोन रख दिया. मैंने बोला फेडरेशन को कॉल किया. मेरा टिकट बना दो. मैं आ रहा हूँ जल्दी. तो मैं वापस आ गया.
काटो जी टिकट.
But the other thing is I want to just quickly tell you why I'm encouraging is मैं डेनमार्क में सुब्रतो के साथ मैंने वहाँ पे 1-2 महीना था शायद जो मैं ट्रेनिंग कर रहा था. और सुब्रतो व्हेन ही स्टेप बैक तो मेरा दिमाग में क्या हो गया था ना भाई एज इंटरनेशनल इंडिया के लिए काफी मैचेस खेल चुका था. क्लब में खेल रहा था. वहाँ पे मैंने क्या रियलाइज हुआ दिस इज आई एम सेइंग इट भाई यहाँ से ना, तो मैंने बोला यार मेरे घर जाना पड़ेगा जल्दी, नहीं तो मेरा फुटबॉल गड़बड़ हो रहा है। गड़बड़ इसलिए हो रहा था कि ISL का जो प्रॉब्लम हो रहा था, मैंने काफी few months I have not played football properly, and वहाँ पे जब गया था and हमारा तभी आई लीग का ISL शुरू नहीं हुआ था, so आई लीग का भी I was comfortable, मेरे पास टाइम मिलता था, I was स्पेस मिलता था, मैं डिफेंडर में खेल लेता, थोड़ा खेल लेता था उस समय। तो मेरा वहाँ पे जो आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द टेम्पो का जब बात कर रहे हैं, so I was playing with FC Bestend, so they are also part of the सुपर लीग का वहाँ पे इसका, तो there was competitive टीम था, टीम में मिडिल इसमें तो आता था, तो हम फर्स्ट थिंग प्रॉपर्ली एवरी डे जब कर रहा था, so I used to be okay, you know. Sometimes one session I was happy, second session I'm not happy, because sometimes what happens is maybe with the ball जब tempo का जब बात करता है, sometimes in the progression I think you will agree with me also, मेरा थोड़ा सा हिल गया उस समय, हिल गया मतलब कि I felt कि I was not doing good for the team, for the training session. At times I make it 1 session 2 session, but 3rd 4th session में कभी क्या होता था कि मेरा बस जब बॉल आके before the ball receive, बॉल जब मेरा पाँव में आना I have to decide where to pass, but क्या होता है कि बॉल इतना जोर से आता है, मैं रिसीव करता हूँ, कभी 1 टच करना है मेरे को, 2 टच करना पड़ता है कि बॉल, you know, the tempo का बात कर रहे हैं, so if that tempo I was not, वो आई लीग में नहीं था, आई लीग वाले टेम्पो में चल रहा था मेरा, तो वहां से मेरे को नेक्स्ट गियर में लाने के लिए थोड़ा टाइम लग गया। Then कभी-कभी I feel I was not fair. They were very kind enough. The club was kind enough, but मेरे को लगा कि यार I'm not helping the session also. You understand ना भाई? थोड़ा मेरे को ना उस समय में maybe whatever factors. I mean very honest. I'm अभी as a coach मैं यहाँ बैठा हूँ, but I would love any boys if they have the opportunity, or now yes people are talking about
what's the age भाई? What's the age? 16 17 for you?
ओडा का I was almost 30 यार तभी यार।
No, but I'm saying if you want a boy to go, what's the ideal age? 16, 17?
There are two scenario now. Yeah, by 17, 18, by 17, 18 में people are playing at the Rooney was 17, 18 debut हो गया यार, debut हो गया 17, 18 senior level में। अगर if you can go just get off from there.
I think if they need to go abroad, they need to go at the age of 12, 13, something like that. And
yeah, 12, 13 को जाओ भाई।
भाई जाओगे कैसे आप फ्लॉयड 12, 13 में, मतलब मैं समझ में how what is the route at that time?
See now with the work permit issues not being there in England, for example, if you can get into any of the academies there and play in the structure there, that gives you the best opportunity to make it through, because you need to be part of that system to kind of work your way through the system and then kind of make your way up. I'll give you some examples, okay? This is way long back. ISL wasn't there at that time. There was a particular India under 16 team. I know the players because they were from Bombay. The captain of that team, Calvin. There was another boy called Aruchit Patnaik. Okay. Some more examples. Archana Puran Singh's son, Ayushman. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Paresh Rawal's son. He was a top-notch goalkeeper. Top players at this point of time. If we had a good structure in place, say the ISL, and the education helping them in India itself, I had no doubts all these 4 players would be in the Indian national team right now. Because, you know, players coming from such a background where they are educated well, they're coming from well-to-do backgrounds, have good food, have good recovery, they have a better potential to make it to the higher level and play like your PIO players, as compared to, you know, players coming from weaker backgrounds, you know, who don't have
because
that education.
Grasp better.
Exactly. So, you know, if we have that system in place, and all of them decided to go abroad, leverage football for a better career in studies, you know, only one of them, I think Aruchit, made it to D1, and after that it was done. So, you know, if the system is not right here to leverage football and your education side by side, these players coming from such backgrounds, from metro cities, will never ever have the opportunity to play in India. They will always choose the opportunity to leverage that and go abroad. And some would go the other way, joining private academies in Spain, England, or wherever, with the hope, you know, of playing at a professional level, you know, in one of these countries or coming back to India. But then the biggest worry is that they all come back with the false belief that now they can walk straight into an ISL team or trial for the Indian national team. That is where someone here should give them a reality check, saying that no, that's not the way it works. But that's not happening. There are many players who are just coming and hopeful, thinking that they deserve an ISL contract, which is where, you know, they need to be given a reality check.
अली, हाँ जी, आपने अपना सर, सॉरी मैं काफी टाइम से आपको नहीं, हाँ जी,
थोड़ा सा मैं एक पॉइंट ऐड करना चाहूंगा इसके अंदर, बिकॉज इफ यू टॉकिंग अबाउट ट्राइंग टू सेंड इंडियन प्लेयर्स हु आर लेट्स से 12 13 और 14 इयर्स ओल्ड, आई थिंक यूरोप में और यूके के अंदर भी खास किस्म का एक रूल होता है दैट यू नीड टू एटलीस्ट हैव अ पेरेंट और a legal guardian with you because you're a minor. तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा इश्यू होता है, एंड बिकॉज देखें, इफ यू लुक एट एग्जांपल्स फ्रॉम प्लेयर्स कमिंग फ्रॉम फॉर एग्जांपल साउथ अमेरिका और अफ्रीका टू यूरोपियन अकेडमीज, sometimes they might have, let's say, a parent who has a French passport. अर्जेंटीना में तो हर दूसरे तीसरे बंदे के पास इटालियन पासपोर्ट होता है यार, और या स्पेनिश पासपोर्ट होता है. तो for them, traveling, moving to a EU country is not difficult because you can travel anywhere around because of EU rules. But एक parent का होना लाजमी होना बहुत जरूरी होता है. तो that is a difficult issue because even if you send some 12-13 year old, तो वहाँ के जो local rules and regulations होते हैं, they will say कि भाई, do you have a parent or a legal guardian with you at all times? Because then you're basically, if you're going to be admitted into an academy structure, you need to have that family support with you.
और ये even
हाँ बिल्कुल. और व्हेन यू टॉकिंग अबाउट इवन ईयू सिटीजन्स ओवर देयर, अगर कोई प्लेयर है जो स्वीडन में खेलता है लेकिन उसको ऑफर हुआ है इटली के क्लब के अंदर, तो मोस्ट लाइकली वन ऑफ द पेरेंट्स विल मूव विद देम टू इटली. और फिर वो अगर एसी मिलान जाता है, कहते हैं यार तुझे हम घर भी देंगे यार मिलान के अंदर, एक छोटा सा अपार्टमेंट होगा, ये बस का किराया है, ये खाने पीने का खर्चा है, आते जाते रहना यार, ट्रेनिंग सारी सब कुछ होगी, यू जॉइनिंग एसी मिलान, भाई आओ यार भेड़ू. तो वहां सब चलता है. बिकॉज India, any country outside the EU or outside these special, economic trade associations, because I think Spain ke paas, there are like agreements with all of Latin America and some African countries too. But Asia, India, South Asia wale, they don't have any kind of issues. So it's going to be very difficult. I do agree.
We claim to have thrown off the yoke of colonialism.
नहीं वही बात है ना, because
welcome back, good to see you on the show.
And you don't have to go far, man. Like if you look at Lionel Messi's story, sorry Ali to jump in, but Lionel Messi is a case in point. You don't have to go anywhere else. Like when he moved from Rosario in Argentina to Barcelona in Spain, there's that whole story. It wasn't easy, irrespective of how much a club might want you to uproot your entire family and move them across to a new continent, right? And because of that, Messi has always also had a troubled relationship with Argentina. People in Argentina consider him to be Spanish, and people in Spain consider him to be Argentinian. So these issues, of course, this World Cup has kind of sorted all of that out once and for all, and that's why it was written in मतलब script लिखी गई थी इस World Cup की. But I just also want to say one thing that, like, in the context of young kids going abroad or trying to play, the structure from a football point of view as well as an educational point of view. Now, if you look at the kids here, for example, where I am right now in Manipur, अब बंदे के पास let's say academy के monthly 1000 रुपए भरने के लिए पैसे नहीं हैं, तो you can imagine the kind of place they come from, right? अभी यहाँ फिलहाल 50 से ऊपर दिन हो गए स्कूल बंद है, right? So kids are in a situation, उससे पहले पैंडेमिक था, उसमें पता नहीं कितना देर स्कूल बंद था. So the educational standards that kids in many parts of India who have the fire and the desire and then want to develop the ability and learning to play serious professional football, there's a huge gap there. I mean, look at the case of Satnam Singh, the basketball player, 7 foot tall. He went from the Pind, right, near Ludhiana, to the IMG Academy in Bradenton in Florida, where a bunch of other Indian kids were also training. It was, and by the way, we've got a nice little 10-minute film on his story. But it was so challenging for him to fit in because for a long time he couldn't cope with how to talk to the people he was now living with, right? आप सिर्फ पंजाबी बोलते हैं, आप कैसे बात करेंगे, like कैसे जिएंगे ना? तो कुछ महीने तो आपको सिर्फ उस adaptation में लग जाते हैं. It's not like the kind of exposure that Mangi was talking about that he had when he went to Australia, right?
Yeah.
So the sort of economic factors that underlie all this football system that we have in India, those also have to be.
You are a foreigner there, bhai. Sorry.
कहाँ पे?
Sorry. Just continue.
in India, भाई foreigner नहीं है ये idea, ये India ही है. जो भी कोई भी कुछ भी बोल ले है तो इंडिया ही ये भी हमारा है anyway,
नहीं fair point,
उस एंगल से हम कॉलोनाइजर हैं, ये तो मानना पड़ेगा भाई मांगे.
No, just
Ali
mentioned about the IMG Academy. You remember there was a select group of Indian players who had gone to IMG for 2 years to train.
Yes.
Yeah, there were 2 boys who dropped out from that group, and one of the names I mentioned was Aruchit Patnaik, and there was another boy. They backed out because they had to forego their studies in order to be with that group for 2 years, and they weren't willing to do that. So if we can, wherever it is, even if a player, for example, 12, 13 years old, he goes to, gets into the Leicester Academy, he's never going to forego his studies. There is a process in which his grades are going to be monitored day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out, in order to maintain a certain level and remain in the academy and train football as well. So I think that's the difference between what we are doing right now, where the system is not at all conducive to develop players and education side by side. So it's never we are missing out on a lot of
Yeah, sorry, Floyd. Any of the boys from that IMG, whatever the 2 years the program, any of the boys are playing in the league now? Are they any part of any club? Any idea?
I don't know. I have to go back to the names of that group and see. But I'm
Jimmy,
sure there will be someone or the other.
Jimmy Malbaum is one of them. I'll ask Jimmy and I'll ask him if any of his batchmates. Jimmy is here in Imphal right now. I can ask him if any of his batchmates are still playing. But he played for a bit, I guess.
Okay, I get that. Lovely discussion we've had, by the way. And आप भाई देखो मैं कितना प्यार करता हूँ और 420 ग्राम्स वाले आपसे कितना प्यार करते हैं कि जो डाइग्रेसिंग वाला कॉन्वर्सेशन था हमारा, क्योंकि बात तो इंडिया वर्सेस पाकिस्तान 90 मिनट के मुकाबले की हो रही थी, जो डाइग्रेसिंग वाला मुकाबला था आपकी वेट कर रहे थे हम कि आप आएंगे, हम गाड़ी को लेफ्ट राइट लेके जाएंगे और फिर वापस पटरी पे लाएंगे. So welcome back. I think it's a good time to say that.
But no offense to Ali who has joined us, but I'm sure he has given an accurate description of the scene in 100%. Pakistan, right? So not speak for an hour about an India-Pakistan football match. If we are doing that, there's something wrong, right?
No,
I spent a lot of time with another journalist, Umaid Wasim, at the World Cup, and he and I chatted a lot about what's happening in Pakistan and how fucked the football scene is. Beyond I think 10-15 minutes of breaking down the tactical aspects of the game, there should not be any competition at this point between India and Pakistan's national sides, unless of course Pakistan have an entire 11 or an entire 16 who are all PIOs too. Because if we are complaining about the domestic structure that we have and how unconducive it is to producing talent of that level, then I think the situation is far harder in Pakistan. Ali, correct me.
It's nice to see. It's nice to see that you've come back to the word you're using now. It's far harder. Yes, I agree with that. Guys, I'm just Ali quickly now because kal na hamare paas, and I call him Pavan Putra Hanuman just purely because this guy just keeps on doing what he does for India. That's Sunil Chhetri. Keeps going stronger and stronger. There was a phase right now guys, I'm ending the conversation.
Another guy who went abroad and came back much stronger. We spoke to him just before he left. Physically, mentally, from just a conversational point of view.
Different beast.
In every way, the time he spent in the US and then in Portugal completely changed.
Ali, what's the word in Pakistan on Chhetri? Is Chhetri discussed? Is Chhetri discussed when speaking about Asian football? Is that a name that's taken regularly in your conversations? Or at least looked at?
I mean, I would assume that most people who actually follow football anywhere in the world in Pakistan don't really care much about what's happening in the Asian context because they're mostly so much confined with their Man Uniteds and Real Madrids and Liverpools and Arsenals and Chelseas, etc. They don't really care much about Asian football unless a World Cup is happening. And they say, oh, Iran has actually quite a nice team itself. But those who actually follow, for example, the kind of social circles I'm with, especially online, the kind of people who thoda bahut football pe sanjeeda nazar rakhte hain, Sunil Chhetri, whenever we talk about this, Sunil Chhetri ka zikr hamesha hota hai. And the biggest question a lot of people often say is, India ki team ke saath kya hoga jab Sunil Chhetri retire hoga? ये एक
सर
बहुत
वेलकम
बड़ा
टू द शो।
सवाल है।
हम बहुत बड़े साल से बोल रहे हैं।
ये बहुत बड़ा सवाल है because any kind of goal scorer who has to fill in Sunil Chetri's boots has an entire Mount Everest and beyond to cross, by the way. Sunil Chhetri का मैं ऐसी random stats पढ़ा था. The kind of goals he scored, the amount of goals he scored for the country compared to amount of goals he scored for a single individual club reminds me of the Iranian legend Ali Dai. Ali Dai scored 100 plus international goals. That was more for one particular team than he had for any particular club in his entire career. Overall, it goes to like 300, 400 goals, that's for sure, overall. But Chetri's stats.
ये रहा stat आपके सामने.
हाँ, बिल्कुल. 90 goals for India, ठीक है? And the second club that comes even close to him is like what, 60 odd goals for I think Bengaluru FC in the ISL. So this is very early dice status-esque kind of statistic, which is absolutely wild, yaar. And the guy's 38. He'll turn 39 in August. So eventually, and he's probably the fittest person in the Indian current lineup right now. वो beep test ऐसे पास करेगा कि जो 18, 19, 20 साल का बच्चा है, वो तो उसके पीछे रह जाएगा साथ में. But eventually, Chhetri will have to hang up his boots. मतलब he can probably play for what? 1 year, 2 years more, maybe 3 years if he's lucky enough.
Every year he gets older, his fat percentage goes down by 1%.
Yeah. So anyone who is a serious football fan who at least has his eyes on the Asian football scene knows how good Chhetri is. They know how good of a player he is. They know. Matlab, I think Chiranjit Ojha ne kuch arse pehle when he did a piece in which he was in Dubai, I think, for the last Asian Cup, and he had a conversation with a Pakistani, bus driver or taxi driver over there. कहता कि यार मैं फुटबॉल बहुत कम देखता हूँ, लेकिन जब भी मैंने देखा ना, मैंने चेत्री को स्कोर करते, मैं चाहता हूँ ये चेत्री बहुत अच्छा प्लेयर है, मैं चाहता हूँ ये यूए के खिलाफ गोल स्कोर करे एशियन कप के अंदर. ही वाज सो हैप्पी जस्ट टू सी चेत्री इन फ्रंट ऑफ हिम, बिकॉज जो फुटबॉल पे अच्छी नजर रखता है, who look beyond their little typical European football theaters जो क्लब फुटबॉल चलता रहता है. Anyone who knows serious football knows how good Sunil Chhetri is. And वही बात है ना, you give him an inch, he takes a mile, even at his age. So, and this is exactly what happened in that game last night against Pakistan.
मंगी भाई, तो फिर उस लिहाज से आप छेत्री साहब पे एक चैप्टर लिख दो जल्दी से जाने से पहले.
छेत्री को तो जानते हैं यार यहाँ पे. थैंक यू. छेत्री पे क्या लिखे, वो तो अपने चैप्टर खुद लिख रहा है रोज. क्या चैप्टर लिखा है?
सही बात है. उसको एक बार ऐसे ही बोल देते हैं, भाई आ जाना कभी हमारे शो पे, हम भेज देंगे मैसेज. हाँ,
भाईचुंग भुटिया को बुला लो.
भाईचुंग भाई भी आ जाएंगे. भाईचुंग भाई नो वरीज. ठीक है एनी भाई, थैंक्स सो मच फॉर जॉइनिंग अस भाई. टेक केयर ऑफ योरसेल्फ. या टेक केयर भाई. थैंक्स सो मच फॉर जॉइनिंग अस. गुड टू सी यू. गुड टू सी यू.
See you भाई.
See you around भाई.
बात वाचिंग गाइस.
Talk to you on the phone.
हां कॉल करना.
अब मंगी भाई quickly, yeah, भाई, ending it after this. Just want to get you and Floyd in on this. How do you suppose he should be used now? And I'm only focusing on January, right? I had recently put out something on my own where I said, listen, there is one school of thought कि अगर एक कोई बंदा 38 साल का है, going on 39 now, and you have that one big swan song tournament coming up in January, that, and purely because of the position he plays in, which is he's scoring goals, and you want him to score goals, कि उसको खिलाओ, हर दिन खिलाओ. Because जितना कम खिलाओगे, जितना वो sniffing of goal कम करोगे, जितना scoring goal थोड़ा कम होगा उसका, उतना उसको problem होगा coming back and switching on. It's an art which you have to keep on doing repetitive. So do you kind of agree that in Bengaluru, if the conditions and everything is right, he should be playing regularly the entire season up until January, so that he's in prime form for India at the Asian Cup?
It's a very complex complex is not a one line answer to nahi hoga isme, but like I think Stimark said that I think one of his statement, I think kal kya pata nahi kab ka tha, last in the recent time, he said that I don't know how many players from this squad will survive by December, because December will be a crucial month hoga hamara, and how many will survive matlab not just a performance, but in terms of your injuries, in terms of your form ka aage piche ho sakta hai. So I think the boys, yes, they are looking forward. I think all of them, as I said, as a player, all you think about is, okay, if you can be part of the Asia Cup. But the thing is, you need to take care of yourself now. So I think now the Chhetri Cup is a baat kar hai. Now ISL season shuru ho jayega. So how are you going to manage? So now I think he being one of the senior player, one of the senior professionals in the team, which he has been doing it. The good thing I would say, I don't know how much it will be an impact, but having the ISL matches, only 20 matches, I think do also help to a lot of our
It
players.
helps him, yeah.
If just imagine our matches are 36 matches or 38 matches, FA Cup 650 matches. If all these players in the squad, if they have to play 50 matches in a season, and I think it's not going to be easy to survive, but at least playing that many matches. So now he being 38, 39, now I think he's smart enough to have that open communication with the staff, with the medical team, with the staff, and all knows that how good and not good he is, and where he should be used and when he should be used accordingly. At the same time, you can't be like, यार मैं जनवरी में खेलना है, मैं घर पे बैठ के मैं सीधा बस पकड़ के तो नहीं आ सकता. So he needs to be continue playing and keep sharpening, maintaining his form and all those, instinctive, like, like they say, box में कोई सिखा नहीं सकता है. Second to none, जो instinct is second to none बोलता है ना box में. So I think that is what Chhetri is, I think that is what he is, what he's doing. So I don't think so I can be anyone to advise on him, but I think he is smart enough. Yeah, I mean, seeing him personally, जब भी बात करता है, मौका मिलता है, जब discuss भी करता है, तो whatever he's doing is, I wish, I could have done also for our board, the way how he's taking care of his body. Yeah.
Floyd, last question, and I'm ending the show after this. I'm not asking for advice on Chhetri and how he should use them. Mangi summed it up perfectly. He is a guy who knows himself, who knows what needs to do to maintain himself at the highest level, 100%. But if you had a player like Sunil Chhetri at this age, and you know what he does on the field, and you know there is a tournament in January, so forget Indian team also. I'm saying, would you be playing him regularly, or would you be playing him sparingly, just purely because he's on the wrong side of 30, and there is a certain thing of fatigue catching up and so on and so forth? Or would you be looking at that?
First thing is, I'd be playing him regularly without a shadow of a doubt. And second, judging from the intercon, he's always been our number 9. Okay, he's always been our number 9, but of late, he's been playing the false 9 to perfection. And there's a big difference. And he's done that because he's tactically intelligent enough to understand what his body is capable of. But he's not just playing the false 9 to perfection, he's bringing in everybody else around him to make sure that they take advantage of what he's doing. The goal that Udanta scored is because of Chhetri's movement.
Yeah, he moved in.
The goal that Changte scored in the previous match after Mahesh took the shot was because of Chhetri's movement. And then he chooses to run behind very sparingly. One is always when Gurpreet has the ball, he's triggered to run behind for that quick counter. And in the penalty that he got was the first time I've seen him in a long time actually run at full pelt, beating defenders and getting across. So he's such an intelligent player. He knows his body. He knows what he's capable of. He's turned into a very good false 9 for the Indian football team. But the way that the others have now figured out how we play around him, and if you're intelligent enough, you are going to get goals because of what Chhetri is doing now, is really encouraging to watch. The players like Changte, players like Sahal, players like Udanta, players who are playing on the wing are now starting to get into the box and scoring goals. And that is all because of the space that he's creating with his intelligence. And at the right moment, at the right time, when he's in the box, he scores. Changte's cross for him to score against Lebanon in the final. So I have no doubt that if he's in your team, he plays. Obviously, there's a game or two, where he's rested when there's nothing to play for, maybe, or when you choose the right moment where he can recover a little bit more for a more important match later on. But if he's in the squad, he plays without a blink of an eyelid, for sure.
I just quickly want to add on that. But very quickly. Bhai, I'm not into much of numbers, but log jo bolte hai, like, I don't know, like about 70 games that whatever me and Sunil, we shared the dressing room for the Indian team. With his size, he's not a Lukaku, Abramovich. वो size तो नहीं है. People, I think, underrated, or people think कि यार ये size पे number 9. But to be honest, he's intelligent, number 1. And people think that with his height, he cannot jump.
Jump अच्छा है भाई उसका.
People think that it's not about the jump, bhai, the timing, no, bhai. I'm telling you, even today, I played at least whatever the career that I had as a player, as a defender. I played with many strikers, foreigners or Indian, jo bhi hai na. But he's one of the. ये सबसे मेरे को तंग किया when it comes to the aerial ball. मेरे को कोई जितना भी इंडिया लंबा जितना भी फॉरेनर इंडियन डिफेंडर ना जितना भी तंग इन्होंने किया मेरे को किसी ने नहीं किया. So and also we share the dressing room for the country, and he knows how to play the number 9. Of course, he's doing a good job with the number 10 also, because by number 9, number 10, number 8, 11, whatever we talk about, भाई खेलने के लिए अगर दिमाग होने चाहिए ना भाई, कोई भी जगह पे डाल दो खेल लेता है भाई. I mean that's what I think. And the last day I want to say Ali, I know many years ago, शायद पता नहीं वो कब 20 साल हो गया होगा, but मेरा भी ऐसे डिफेंडर मैंने गोल पाकिस्तान के अगेंस्ट में मारा था. नहीं
कब था भाई वो?
भाई बहुत बुरा, अभी याद आया मेरे को. मैं साफ कब था 2009 था शायद, आई थिंक माले में मॉलदीव्स में मेरा 2008 था क्या वो? हाँ
2008 था.
But I had a great memory about Pakistan भाई. मौका I hope I will get another opportunity to come. मैं साफ 2003 में आया था मैं इस्लामाबाद में साफ गेम्स के लिए, and I think my last game मैंने वहाँ पे I think राहुल पिंडी का कोई I think उसका अंदर में ग्राउंड था आर्मी का, so we played the game there, and also final match हम हारा था पाकिस्तान से.
I remember that was the first Pakistan match I actually saw, जिसकी वजह से मैं उसी दौरान I had become a Pakistan football fan for the past 1 year. That was the first time I managed to see Pakistan play live on TV. SAFF Games final था, Pakistan beat India's under-20, जिसमें I think Sunil Chhetri भी थे. He was part of that squad. 1-0 in the final in Islamabad. Yes, I remember that match.
Yes. हाँ, Sunil was there. We lost 1-0 I think, if I'm not wrong. We lost 1-0. हम final में
Abdul Aziz ने goals किया था. Abdul Aziz बलोच ने goals score किया था उसके अंदर. Yes.
किसने goal किया वो याद नहीं है, but yeah, I have a lovely memory. I mean, lot of like good memories about. मैंने काफी घुमा, हम लोग काफी चक्कर मारा वहाँ पे इस्लामाबाद में, काफी जगह गए हम लोग ने, काफी सामान भी लेके आए वहाँ से, काफी शॉपिंग भी किया.
ये तो बात है.
Done guys. Just I'm going to put an end to the show, क्योंकि ये हमने 1.5 घंटे का शो बना दिया है. हमने पूरा मैच खेल लिया है यहाँ पे, जो कल उन लड़कों ने खेला है.
We always plan to have half an hour, 40 minutes.
But I can't interrupt an organic conversation. To interrupt an organic conversation is the biggest crime one could commit, at least in the content space. So long may that continue. We love hearing each and every one of you. Siddhant, Anil, thank you so much for coming back. Floyd Pinto, Gauramangi Singh, Ali bhai, lovely having you on the show, brother. Hopefully we can catch up again during this tournament.
Absolutely. Always happy to discuss Pakistan and its immediate problems.
Just very quickly, because I'm ending it. आपको क्या लग रहा है, पाकिस्तान इंडिया फाइनल हमें दिखेगा?
No.
Can we? No.
No, come on.
No, getting out of the group. No,
yaar, because if Pakistan have to get out of the group, they have to beat both Kuwait and Nepal.
Yes.
And I don't think, given the current situation, जो पाकिस्तान की इस वक्त current national team की है, getting a point of Kuwait would be an achievement. Because I recognize our team's limited capabilities, our team's unfortunate lack of cohesion, because it's only our 13th match in 8 years. So if we had taken a result against India, a kind of a 0-0 draw अगर हो जाता, then I would have said, oh, maybe we can probably sneak in a point against Kuwait and then go for the win against Nepal. Now we have a mountain to climb. So good luck I really hope Pakistan can do a performance against Kuwait. But मुझे भी अपनी टीम की कमजोरियों का काफी अंदाजा है. But good luck to the boys. I hope they can at least prepare and get a result. Whatever it is, I'll accept, because the main aim for us is the October qualifiers, जो कि World Cup के पहला first round का होना है. That is our main aim basically. कि यार तब तक हम कुछ ना कुछ तैयारी दिखा गए और हमें कोई ऊपर वाले ने कोई कर्म करी, कोई हमें आसान टीम दे दे यार. वरना हमेशा कभी यमन से मैच होता है, कभी हमारा इराक से मैच होता है, कभी हमारा पता नहीं किसके साथ मैच हो जाता है.
सर हम भी बड़े टोटके करते हैं यहाँ पे. कोई नहीं सुनता, मुश्किल मैच ही आता है. गौरमंगी सिंह बैठा है वहाँ पे आपके सामने, उसने बड़े मुकाबले ऐसे खेले हुए हैं. But Ali, Gauраmangi, Floyd, guys, thank you so much for joining us on the
show. Thank you for having us.
Sorry it went a little long, but it was just a lovely conversation. It would be a crime to end it. But once again, thank you so much, and hopefully we'll catch up again sometime during this tournament. Goodbye.
Sure thing.
See you guys.